There is no doubt that modern medicine makes the goal of reaching 100 even more achievable. But if you look closely at the statistics, you'll notice that whilst people are living longer, they are not actually living a healthier quality life. In today's podcast, I'm going to share a list of lifestyle tips that have been carefully researched as having the most impact on your well-being, that will sharpen your mind, keep your body strong, resistant to disease, and help you live a long, happy life. I'm Sam McCool, and welcome to A Higher Branch. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Higher Branch. I hope 2024 has started with a very positive note for you, and welcome to a lot of new listeners. We're getting lots of new listeners from over the new year, and I'm excited to welcome our new people, all the new listeners to our podcast who are now on this journey with us. So I hope you stay with me on 2024. I have great episodes coming up. So if you haven't already done so, just a reminder to hit the subscribe button and the notifications so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, which is going to consistently, I promise you will consistently improve your life in the 8 areas for 2024. Okay, let's kick off today's episode. I'm going to share with you 21 tips that I have been researching over the last 30 years. Yes, you heard me correct. I'm obsessed with this topic because it is my personal goal to live to 100. I want to see my children have children. I want to meet their children as well. I want to be a great-grandfather, and I want to do so in a healthy state of mind and body. And this milestone is absolutely achievable now. We don't want to get to the finish line, right, only to stumble and fall over, the 100 mark. We want to reach 100 where we are still able-bodied, able to get out and about and have conversations so our families can enjoy our company and we don't become a burden. Now, I know many centurions that I've researched that actually live a long, healthy life, and they get sick for a week and then they pass. And I think that's a great way to go. My grandmother, I remember she passed peacefully when she was sitting there. We were all in the lounge room watching TV, and she was kind of just leaning on her hand with a smile on her face. And it looked like she was asleep, but she passed peacefully in that sleep. And I think that's the kind of death we all want to aspire to. Now, if you think this topic is more morbid, I apologize in advance, but it's actually not. It's a fact of life. We all have to accept we're on that treadmill. We're all going to pass and perish one day. So until that happens, we need to make an impact and leave a legacy, however big or small. That's why the purpose of this podcast is to help you live your best life and overcome any obstacles and limiting beliefs, because I think it's a tragedy if our family and friends don't get to witness our brilliance. Now, I became a lawyer many years ago because I hated injustice, but I noticed that the biggest injustice in life was one that we deal ourselves. And so that's why I think it's absolutely imperative that we live a life that we hit that 100 milestone, having, spent the last 30 years in a state that is also valuable to society. So these tips I'm going to share with you today will absolutely help you achieve that. And they're carefully researched, carefully curated, and some of them are going to cause a bit of controversy, but hey, I welcome your feedback, I welcome your comments, and I welcome your questions. Okay, let's dive into my first tip, and I think the most important tip, and that is you need to have purpose and meaning in your life. You need to have long-term goals, and having something to wake up to every morning is the strongest motivation for living until 100. There is a very profound thing that happens within your body at the physical level when your mind is focused on a target, when your mind is focused on having a goal that is meaningful and gives you purpose. Goals that make you wake up in the morning with energy, with enthusiasm, with excitement for your future. When you have purpose and meaning, there is a cocktail of healthy chemicals that become pervasive in your body's makeup. I've experienced this myself. On the days where I wake up and don't have goals for the day, I haven't written in my journal or done any meditation, I wake up and I'm thinking, I'm really tired. I don't want to get out of bed. When in effect, I've just woken up with the wrong frame of mind, with the frame of mind that is directionless, without any purpose or meaning, because I didn't have any specific goals for that day. And I confuse that. The body confuses that with having no energy. So it's incredible how the mind is so much more powerful than the body. Something as small as, having to wake up and meet a friend for a walk can actually give you energy. Waking up with a purpose to achieving something at work gives you that energy. We all need something to aim for. And when we wake up with basically no target, right? That sends a message for your body that what's the point? What's the use? You have nothing to look forward to in that day. And that sends a message to your body to age. What keeps you young is actually not just doing things, but living on the edge of your comfort zone. There's a lot of research about this, and there is so much. I'm not going to quote all of it, but the message is this: having goals and dreams that give you purpose and meaning, and having goals even that scare you and keep you on that edge of your comfort zone where you're a little bit fearful, you're a little bit stressed. That is what keeps you young. Okay, tip number 2. And this is under the tree of friendship, under our higher branch framework. And that is, you need to socialize more with family and friends and even your work colleagues, with the proviso that it has to be people that inspire you, make you laugh, lift you up, encourage you, and even challenge you. Which means that you need to avoid toxic people. You've heard me talk about it so many times before, and it's caused a little bit of controversy with a lot of our listeners. But research shows that people who are toxic actually have a negative impact on your life. But people who are healthy for you actually help you live to a long life. Now, there's been many studies about this in the blue zones. And these are the geographic regions that are home of the world's oldest people. In Japan, in Sardinia in Italy, the island of Crete in Greece. And I know personally in my my mother's heritage, there are some villages in Syria where people are living to the age of 120 and beyond. In fact, in one village, someone was recorded as living to 132. And when scientists have gone in to study these blue zones, they've recognized that out of so many factors, socializing and social networks, and I don't mean social media here, is the number one most critical factor for these people living to 100. There was a recent research done with Chinese participants over a 5-year period. The research overwhelmingly showed that people who socialized daily, their time to death was delayed by 204%. Now, that is absolutely huge and confirms that it's not just the people you socialize with, but it's also the frequency. And so the greater the frequency, the greater likelihood of living longer. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to flash the study up now. Otherwise, if you're listening on audio, I'll put it in the description. And so many other studies in the past have showed the same thing. And you know what? We don't need these studies to tell us what's going on, because it's about friendship. And friendship fills a fundamental human need for belonging. Because when we are isolated or lonely, the brain literally sends messages to the cells that you're under a state of fight or flight. You go into a stressed state. And in that state, your cells literally die. You're shortening the lifespan of your cells. So our cells associate loneliness as banishment from the tribe. And that meant death, because in old days we survived as a tribe. Now we can survive on our own, right? We have Uber Eats, you can catch buses wherever. But in the olden days, someone cooked, someone hunted, someone gathered, someone built the hut, someone went and fetched water. So if you're banished from the tribe, that meant certain death. And that's why socializing is so important because that genetic code is in our bodies. It's a memory from our ancestors. And when we isolate ourselves, we are literally reducing our longevity. And this, I talked about socializing recently, and it has caused a lot of debate because there are some of you that feel like, I don't need to socialize. I like to be alone. Some of you said, I have pets. I don't need other people. And you know what? I'm not going to cover it today. I'm going to do a separate episode and I will cover it in my Q&A sessions. But let's press on today with more tips on how to increase your longevity. And that third tip, which is going to cause even more controversy with single people, is that you need to be in a good relationship. You need to be in a relationship, but more importantly, you need to be in a good one. And I'm talking about the tree of love here. You know, our fundamental human need for physical and emotional intimacy. Research has shown that people who are in a loving long-term relationship are much happier and healthier than their single counterparts. They simply live longer. So I believe you have to focus just as hard on your love life as you do on exercise, on your career, and on your finances. And trust me, good relationships don't just happen by accident. You need to work on it. Now, I've covered this in the past, but I recommend a great book called The Relationship Fix by Dr. Jen Mann. And I suggest you also listen to my first episode for the year called Tips on How to Upgrade Your Life, where I go through what I consider are new rules for 2024 to being in a great, successful relationship. Now, before I get into tip number 4, you would have noticed from my first 3 tips that they are all kind of interrelated, right? We're talking about socializing. We're talking about having a great relationship. We're talking about having purpose and meaning and long-term goals that keep you young. All these things are interrelated because we interact with people. We interact with our partner. We interact with so many people when we have long-term goals. And I believe we need to blend our life in a way which helps us basically focus on our work, make work something that is exciting, make it also an area where we have friends, and also make it an area that brings joy to our relationships. Because I think when we have purpose and meaning, when we have great friends, and when we go home to our partner, when we hang out with our partner, we're going to be in a better state of mind. We are going to be in a more constructive, more fun, more exciting frame of mind, which sends a message to our partner that life is great. And then that improves the relationship as well. So everything that I give you, all these tips are interrelated. And I'm going to cover this in a future episode called Life Blending, because there is an art to living in a way which blends all 8 areas of your life with better time management. Because if I tell you, hey, you need to exercise for 1 hour, then hang out with friends for 1 hour, then spend time, with your partner or with your kids, reading to your kids, you think, I don't have time in a day. But when you blend your life across all 4 of them, like work out in the gym with a friend, work out with your partner, go for walks, where you're tackling, rather you're fulfilling more than one fundamental human need in the 8 areas of life. Anyway, I think I've made my point. Let's press on with tip number 4. And that is, you need to travel regularly. Humans are nomadic by nature. And the modern day of just living in the one area really is not healthy for us. And it goes against all our primal instincts. Our primal instincts was to travel. We traveled in tribes, and we were nomadic by nature because we had to move with the seasons. When winter was over, we moved to another area. When a particular area that we grew fruit and vegetables and the soils became depleted, we moved on to other soils. So we are primed for travel. So when we stay in one location, we are actually stagnating. But when we roam, our 5 senses, like our sight, sound, smell, are stimulated, which is how we experience life. And when those senses are stimulated, it sends messages to the body to stay young. So we feel most alive when we experience the adventure of new travel. And traveling does not have to be overseas, right? In fact, it's healthier to travel locally and explore your own part of the world. So make a habit of going for weekend trips with your family and friends. You can drive to the mountains. I like to visit apple orchards in autumn, picking fruit. I go to the beach in summer. The main thing is to get out of the house and travel regularly. And that's why the car was invented. And the airplane. We have this innate primal need to develop transport. Why? Because we have a need to travel. So you need to get out of your comfort zone and get out of the house as much as possible because it's important to your longevity. Okay, tip number 5, and that is to wake up as close to sunrise as close as you can and sleep within 2 hours of sunset. Now, I know it's difficult to do, especially during the holidays, but you need to try and develop a routine. Now, it's January at the moment and holiday season, but definitely in February, try and get back to that routine of going to sleep early and waking up as close to sunrise. Because the good news is that there seems to be a correlation between this sleep frequency and success also. Many successful people have this thing where they wake at sunrise, and that's their hour of power, where they exercise, they meditate, they write in a journal, and they get to work early before everyone else. And the research supports this. A lot of research. For example, one research shows that for every hour of sleep before midnight is the equivalent of 2 hours of sleep after midnight. Now, that's phenomenal. So it means you can sleep less and actually gain more. And that's why there's some people that say, I get by on 6 hours of sleep. The other research shows that, waking up early reduces your blood pressure, reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke. So it's quite phenomenal. So it's important. Make this a year where you get your circadian rhythms right and you go to bed early and you wake up as close to sunrise as much as possible. I think that is the most important part. The research shows the most important part is it's when you wake up. Let's move on to tip number 6. And that is to follow a diet that's true to your heritage. Our bodies evolved over many years by eating essentially the same food from the local area and what was in season. It's overly simplistic to subscribe, I think, a one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition. I'm not saying, hey, everyone, adopt this trendy diet. No, I'm urging you to reconnect with your roots, to savor the flavors woven into the fabric of your DNA. Are you Japanese? Dive into the rich tapestry of Japanese cuisine. Mediterranean? Let the essence of olives, fresh produce, and fresh fish and sun-kissed flavors be your guide. This is not just about what's on your plate. It's about honoring your genetic code, aligning your diet with the very essence of who you are. So it's important that you eat according to your DNA, because the best diet for you is the one written in your genes. In essence, aligning your diet with your heritage, takes a holistic approach to nutrition that considers the intricate interplay between, genetics, culture, and your health. For example, eating foods that align with your genetic makeup ensures you're getting the right nutrients. And I think even more important than that is to consider the emotional and the cultural connections to your traditional food. Feeling connected to your roots and enjoying meals which hold cultural significance reduces stress and enhances your mental health. And again, it relates back to my earlier comment about socializing, because most of socializing is around food. And I do this with my friends regularly, where we get together and we actually take turns cooking foods that is true to our heritage and sharing that food. I mean, you don't have to be religious about it, but I think it's something that you need to infuse in your weekly diet, because research shows it helps you live longer. Okay, now let's move on to tip number 7. And this is a personal favorite of mine, and that is you should never stop learning in life. Now, reading is the best way to learn. but I want to add a few more. Listening to people, listening to audiobooks, listening to me. Now, I'm an avid listener of a podcast, and reading with a curious mind is where the research shows overwhelmingly fires parts to the brain that keeps you young. So it's about really learning with a beginner's mind. A beginner's mind is a non-complacent mind. The biggest mistake we make as we grow older is thinking that we know everything. So we stop learning and we start approaching things with a beginner's mind. So for example, if someone is telling you something that they've learned and you kind of know a little bit about it, resist the temptation to jump in and say, oh, I know what you're saying. You mean this, this, and this. No, let them finish, because you may know parts of it, but you don't know all of it. I understand why the research shows that learning is important for your longevity, not because I think you're gaining more and more information. I think it keeps your mind supple. You look at children, they approach everything with a beginner's mind. And that is, I think, one feature that I have retained throughout my personal business career. Every day when I go to work, I approach everything like it's day one, which means I want to learn the new things that can help improve our business, that new ways that can help me improve my performance at work. And that cuts across all areas of my life. What are the new exercise routines? What's the new methods on sleeping better? What are the new tips for a better relationship? Everything I share with you on the podcast is actually promoting a beginner's mind. It's for you to always approach information that you listen to, even if it's information that you know. Approach it with a beginner's mind and say, okay, I know this, and I've learnt it years ago, but has there been a subtle change to that information? Or maybe in my life at this point in time, I can apply this information in a different way. So keep learning. Never, ever stop learning. That's why the tree of learning is one of the 8 fundamental areas of life under my framework, the 8 areas of life framework. Now, if you are new to our podcast and you're listening on YouTube, I'm going to flash the diagram up now. For the rest of you, head on over to ahirebranch.com in your own time and have a look at that diagram. I, in fact, have a photo of that diagram plastered everywhere. I know it off by heart, but it's my North Star, my roadmap to life. And let me tell you, continuous learning is on that roadmap. And, I share a lot of information with you on this podcast within the framework of the 8 areas of life, because I want you to keep learning the right things. So when you ask me what I'm learning, I'm not always learning about subject matter expertise at work. I'm learning about the 8 areas of life, how to be a better partner, how to be a better father, how to be a better friend, in the area of wealth, how to manage my money better. So I urge you to keep learning. I think this is an important one for me, and I know it's going to be an important one for you as you grow older, because the more and more you learn, the younger you will feel. And that sends a message to your body that you're still in the game, that you're still in the hunt, that you're still young and hungry for life. And this is a nice segue to my tip number 8. This tip is all about novelty. We experience the world through our 5 senses. When we do the same things every day, repeat the same patterns, those 5 senses become numb. And that's why I call the comfort zone, you've heard me call the comfort zone the dead zone, because it's where our 5 senses go to die. And it sends a message to your body that nothing new is happening. You become stale. Because essentially our body's longevity is controlled by the brain. And when we have novelty in our lives, then the brain is firing in all hemispheres. And the only way for the brain to fire in all hemispheres is to stimulate your 5 senses in different ways. So I'll give you some practical examples of novelty. So, for example, I brush my teeth with my left hand. I drive to work taking a different route, or sometimes I'll walk to work or catch public transport just to mix it up. You need to have novelty. Don't go to the same restaurants. Don't drink the same, latte. Have something else. Try tea instead. Don't go to the same places with your friends. Don't hang out at different places. Try different hangouts. Go to different restaurants, different cafes. Travel to different destinations. That's why I love Airbnb. I think the days of having your own holiday home, what's the use? That's not novel. You're just going to another home. So with Airbnb, you can go to different locations to call it your home. Home is where you and your loved ones are. It's not the geography. It's not the home. It's not the four walls. So you need to seek novelty whenever you can. And I cannot stress this enough. In fact, it's such an important area. I'm going to cover it in a future episode. And it's related to learning. Again, all these tips I'm giving you are all interrelated. And there's a symbiotic relationship between all of them. When you're learning, that's novelty. When you're doing different things, that's novelty. And you do them with the people in your life. You're doing it while you're socializing. Anyway, let's move on to the next tip. And that tip is to have afternoon naps. Now, a lot of people will say, "Well, really? I'm not a old person to have." Isn't it old people that just have naps? No, it's people who are doing a lot in life. If you want one of those people that have a lot on, and you're go go go, and you have, when I say go go go, I don't mean overwhelming yourself. It's like you woke up with purpose and meaning and passion, and you go after it. You're doing a lot in your life and you have constant high energy. You need to recharge. And let me tell you, the research shows that in those blue zones I talked about up front, people in the blue zones had regular naps. And I think one of the tragedies of the industrial age is when people stopped having naps. The siesta was created in Spain. And there was a study recently where one city in Spain, I think it was Barcelona, retained the siesta, but Madrid, which is a industrial style city with lots of industry, did away with the siesta. Let me tell you, the prescriptions for Prozac in Barcelona were like at very, very, very nominal lows. And as soon as Madrid did away with the siesta, the afternoon nap, depression started going up and Prozac prescriptions started going up. What does that tell you? It tells you as humans, we are wired to get up early, do our best work in the morning, have that lunchtime, and then have a siesta, have an afternoon nap. Now, I know that is unrealistic for a lot of us, especially in the corporate world where we are 8:30 till 5, right? It's very difficult to have a nap. Now, there are some places which have sleep pods. I know some people will go and have lunch and go for a walk, have lunch, and then they'll have a nap in their car. I'm lucky enough to have an office and I'll close the door and have a nap. But, more often than not, just having a nap on a Saturday or a Sunday is enough. And think back of a time when you had a nap and you woke up. How did you feel? I bet that you felt like you felt amazing. You felt like this burst of energy. Let me tell you, no vitamin pill on this planet can actually have the same impact. So, and when I say a nap, I don't mean like a 2-hour nap here. The research shows that 20 minutes is a sweet spot and definitely no more than 30 minutes. And not too late in the day because it'll eat into your sleep time at night. It'll give you too much energy. It's like having a vitamin B12 shot at night. They're going to give you energy and you don't want that. It's time and place, right? You need to have the nap just like a vitamin pill at the right time. Okay, so I'm going to finish you with this 10th and final tip for this part 1. You need to laugh more. You need to watch comedies. You need to hang out with friends who make you laugh. Now, we're often told, to adopt the mantra of don't worry, be happy. But I find the easiest way to do that is to have more reasons to laugh in life. You can't tell someone don't worry, to be happy if they're not laughing. Laughter releases so many feel-good hormones. And it replenishes, ourselves our bodies in a profound way. And I make it actually my mission every night to watch a comedy, whether it's stand-up comedy or my favorite show like Seinfeld or Friends. anything that makes you laugh. And when I do it with my family, I'm also, climbing the tree of family, bonding with my family whilst we're having a laugh. And I tell you, on those nights, which is most nights that I watch comedies before I go to sleep, I have a great night's sleep. And it's no wonder that the research shows that laughter helps us live longer. I know there's a show on Netflix at the moment about longevity, and they focus on 2 or 3, factors, and they're all different in certain blue zones. But I promise you, what I'm sharing with you today, I think is a more rounded, more complete, more holistic approach to living to 100. Why? Because I've researched this over many, many years. And let me tell you, I've put laughter in my 21 tips because not through the research that I've read, but the impact that it has made on me personally. Look, my message to you is life is too short to live a serious life. Don't take life too seriously. And when you watch comedies, when you hang out with friends that make you laugh, when you listen to podcasts, I know there's podcasts out there on comedy, when you listen to stand-up, it just helps us take life a lot less seriously, because I feel like we're going through a serious epidemic. Yes, there are certain things happening in this world that are serious, but that's not loving to us to focus and become serious about things in our life that we can't control, right? What we can control is what happens before we go to sleep. Having, at least more than 50% of our time spent with a smile on our face instead of frown, then that is the strongest message for your body to live a longer life. And all these tips I'm sharing with you, they're messages to your body. Your body will live as long as the message you tell it. So what messages, I want to finish this episode by asking you, what messages are you sending your body every day? Are you feeling lost or stale in your life? Or what do you think that message is going to send to your body? When you wake up with purpose and meaning, when you socialize, when you have a great relationship with your partner, when you have novelty, when you are continuously learning and laughing and eating to your true heritage, that sends a very strong message to your body. Hey, we're in this for the long term. We're in this to live to at least to 100. And who knows, I promise you, with this day and age, with the 11 tips I'm going to share with you in part 2, you may even live a lot longer than that. Okay, well, on that note, I hope I've given you information to help you build momentum in this year, because this time of the year is the best time for you to infuse new habits, new rituals, and new mindsets for 2024. Thank you again for listening. If you know someone, just a reminder, if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this and you love them and care for them, please share it with them. And you'll be also helping me spread the message. I really produce this episode with the utmost of love for your potential. I have a day job and I take half a day off every week to record this to you because I really care. I care about the listeners of this podcast, and I really love the messages that you send me, especially the emails that you send us and the impact these episodes have on your life, and even the questions and even the contrary comments that you have. Please keep them coming. I actually love engaging with you, and I get inspiration for my next episodes from the feedback that you give me. Anyway, thank you again for listening, and I want to leave you with the reminder that every morning is the dawn of a new day and your opportunity to leave the past behind and start a new, fresh life. On that note, I hope you have a great day, and as always, live consciously, my friends.